If someone was bullied to death, and you were the one who stood by in silence, would you dare replay the footage now? I'm Celeste Thorne. In another life, I was Kira, and I died. Not because someone struck me, but because everyone else just watched. But this time, I've come back, to pull each one of them out of the shadows, to make those who turned away remember clearly. The price of silence. The library in the early morning was empty. Faint light slipped through the thick curtains, laying a pale golden dust over the bookshelves. I walked slowly between the reading tables. My soft-soled shoes made no sound, but each heartbeat echoed in my chest like a drum. Where I was heading, no one in this school had ever paid attention to. I knelt down, fingers tracing the thin crack along the edge of the third shelf. The third plank was a bit loose. Not many would notice. But Kira did. Because this was where she hid what mattered most to Hera, part of the truth, and her fear. My hand slipped into the gap, heart pounding like I was about to uncover a forgotten piece of myself. A cold sensation brushed against my finger's metal. Got it. I pulled out a small object, a gray USB stick, its edge scratched and scuffed, wrapped in cloudy, dust-covered tape, slightly bent from time. It looked old, unremarkable, but in my hand, it weighed like a testimony. I turned it gently in my palm. It felt hauntingly familiar. My throat tightened. This was what Kira had hidden, what I had forgotten. A part of Beyoncé, fearful, broken, the one who wrote in journals only to delete them, had left this behind as a whisper in the dark. And today, I returned to finally listen. The room was as silent as always. A thin curtain fluttered in the wind, slanting lines of sunlight across the dusty floor. I sat at one of the old laptops, plugged the gray USB into the side port. A soft click followed then. The screen blinked awake slowly, booting up with a faint mechanical hum. My pulse raced. My fingers clenched around the mouse. I hesitated, then opened the final file. KIRA.EXP. A bare-bones interface appeared. What lay within was colder than any unlit room. There were behavior strings formatted like if, then conditions. If called out in class, then lower head. If message received after 10 p.m., then don't respond. If best friend doesn't reply in 5 minutes, then apologize first. Reactions. Frequencies. Even heartbeat approximated by how often the phone was checked per hour. All of it was me. Not the Celeste I am now, but the Kira I used to be. I froze. This wasn't a diary, and it wasn't a survey. It was a behavioral simulation, a digital reconstruction of a person, built from every tiniest reflex, every trembling keystroke at midnight. Hands shaking, I opened the next folder. Lines of synced data appeared. I read slowly. Each word hit me like a stone to the gut. Margaret C. Margaret Carter. Aiden's mother. The woman who mocked Grandma Rose with that power-scented smile. The one always behind those closed-door meetings. I let go of the mouse. My whole body chilled, despite the noonday sun through the window. The room suddenly felt suffocating, like the past wasn't returning through memory, but through code and simulation. They took minimalized me, rebuilt me, to reprogram the nightmare. This time, I didn't cry. I sat up straight, my eyes locked on the screen. If they thought I'd crumble at this truth, they'd forgotten who I am. I am Celeste Thorne, and I used to be Kira. I stood at the front of the class. Every time I stood here, I remembered Kira's eyes, the way they looked at the floor. But today, I didn't lower my gaze. I know someone recorded the bullying in the locker room, I said. My voice was low but firm. I don't blame you for staying silent, but I won't let silence keep being an excuse for evil to survive. The room was quiet. Some stared at their desks, others clenched their fists, faces flushed. I looked into each of their eyes. I I don't need anyone to apologize to Kira. She's gone. But I need you to rethink. A long pause. Then, from the back of the class, a hand went up. A boy I didn't recognize. He was trembling but stepped up, handing me another USB. I recorded the clip that day, but I was scared. I edited it, made it look less. But this is the original. I took it. My fingers touched that object like touching a confession. Not for me, for Kira. Noah and I sat together on the back steps of the dorm building, where yellow lights cast long shadows over the patchy wall. Neither of us spoke for a while. Only the faint sound of metal scraping, as Noah pulled a document from his backpack, wrapped in a thin plastic folder. He handed it to me, his voice rough and low. "You might want to see this. I found it in the school board's digital library." I opened it. The cover read, "Westbrook Student Behavior Simulation Project, Internal Pilot System. Implemented by Margaret Carter, Behavioral Operations Director." A sharp chill ran down my spine. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was rage boiling from the deepest part of my chest. It wasn't just Grace reenacting the script. Not just one reborn player. It was a whole system. A gloved hand pulling strings from behind the curtain with data, with power, with cruelty dressed as research. They didn't just kill Kira with abandonment. They rewrote her line by line like a person's memory could be simulated, tested, then erased. I clutched the document so hard the plastic corners bent under my grip. I lay on my dorm bed. The ceiling light flickered, like a reminder that even light can go out at any moment. The white ceiling was blotched with stains of time, but I didn't look at that. I looked through it as if beyond it, a pair of eyes stared back at me from another life. From where Kira had once laid, for the last time. Kira died. She didn't choose death, but silence, indifference, and eyes that knew but dared not see killed her. And when Kira's trembling feet reached the edge of Maple Hill Bridge, no one pulled her back. No one. I didn't come back to forgive. I came back to make them remember. Remember that Kira was not a statistic, not a tragic incident, not a footnote in the school newspaper. She was a person. A girl who smiled, who trusted, who waited for someone to save her. But now, it's different. This time, no one gets to look away, whether they want to or not.
Some crimes don't need blood, just a classroom full of eyes that look down, a school board that turns people into data, a USB containing a life that was programmed. Kira once waited for someone to speak, but no one did. Now, Celeste isn't waiting anymore.